bring in Payam Akhavan, an Iranian former UN prosecutor and human rights lawyer. Thank you so much, Mr. Akhavan, for joining us here on the program. I just want to begin by getting your overall assessment of what we've seen played out over the course of the last few weeks since those demonstrations began, since that bloody and brutal crackdown, and where we are today.
Since the earliest days of the Islamic Revolution in 1979, there have been executions, systematic widespread use of torture, and there have been episodes of protest. And most recently, you would be familiar with the Women Life Liberty movement, feminist uprising in 2002, which was met with terrific violence. But the scale of the violence in response to the recent protests is unprecedented. There are indications based on clinical forensic evidence from a network of medical doctors in Iran that at least 33,000 people have been killed in recent days, which is a rate of killing which is 4 times worse than the Srebrenica genocide in the Yugoslav war when I was the UN prosecutor. So the scale of violence, mass killings, the horrific sights of black body bags piling up in morgues, the accounts of refrigerator trucks just dumping bodies in mass graves. The Iranians today are deeply traumatized, a nation in mourning. And meanwhile, the United States and Israel and Iran and China and Russia are playing their geopolitical games in pursuit of their interests. But what the people want is to be able to live in freedom, to live in dignity. And it's a truly difficult and tragic moment for all of us, whether inside Iran or in the diaspora. And we just hope that the perpetrators of these horrific crimes are one day brought to justice.
Yeah, I mean, with the numbers, you know, there are varying numbers. We're still trying to verify many of these numbers. I mean, anything from about 3,000 dead to 6,000 dead. We're hearing more than 17,000 recorded deaths under investigation, possibility of 22,000 dead. So at this stage, given the blackout, the internet shutdown, it's difficult to verify all of these different numbers that continue to come out. But you were recently invited by the UN Human Rights Council to address the mass killings in Iran. What did you choose to highlight?
Well, in terms of the statistics, the Islamic Republic admitted that 5,000 people have been killed. This is about a week ago. And then it revised that number downwards to 3,000. And their pattern of misinformation is such that you always know that if they admit to 3,000 or 5,000, the number is typically significantly higher. But the number that I gave you just now, 33,000, is not something that I made up. There is a network of medical doctors in Iran. They have access to clinical records from hospitals and forensic records from morgues. So they have compiled a list of people who are reported to have been killed. And then you have statisticians who, as scientists, know how to take this raw data and extrapolate. They have arrived at a conservative estimate of 33,000 killed. And even if you simply look at the Kahrizak morgue in Iran, just look at the images, you will see at least several hundred bodies in black bags. And that's just one location in Iran, and the violence has occurred throughout. So you're right, we don't know the exact numbers because of the internet blackout, because of the mass burials where the regime is even removing dead bodies, so there's no record of them. But by any measure, this is the largest mass killing that has occurred in contemporary Iranian history. And I'm afraid that
if we look at 2009, you know, only the numbers still horrific, but a couple of hundred protesters killed. Same in 2019, same in 2022. The numbers, regardless of whether it's 3,000, 5,000, or as you say, the network saying that it might be more than 30,000. I mean, it's horrifying regardless of what those numbers are, because they are in the thousands. But what are you asking the international community to do now?
Well, at the very least, the international community must condemn this mass murder. It must investigate and gather the evidence, which is why the UN Human Rights Council renewed the mandate of the International Fact-Finding Mission last week in Geneva. But above all, the perpetrators must be told in no uncertain terms that they will one day be brought to justice. The UN Security Council should refer this matter to the International Criminal Court. And although we know that it will not be possible to arrest the leaders of Iran today, we persist in the hope that the day will come when we will prosecute them in the independent and impartial courts of a democratic Iran. Because the Iranian people cannot forget the scale of the crimes that have been committed, and it's impossible to build a better future if these horrific crimes are left unaddressed.
Dr. Payam Akhavan, thank you very much for joining us here on the program.